continuation of our celebration that began last night. And this morning we're going to focus on the writings of Arthur Dobrin, who is now leader emeritus. When we started planning the festivities for Founders Day, Marianne Cohen suggested that we do a program on Arthur's writings, and I took that on as a project myself. I read, I think, 80% of what you've written, something like that, and made the selections, and lots of members generously volunteered to read and perform. And so this morning, you're going to be going from 1968 to the present. And I didn't plan on this going chronologically when I started out, but it just sort of fell out that way and it seemed to work. So that's how we're going to do it. What I'm going to do is call up people who are reading in groups. They're divided by different books or different passages. And so those people, when we get to your page, if you could come up together and read in order. If you forgot your paper, don't worry, it's all right here. So the first people that we have reading this morning are Irene Antoniazzi and Mel Haber.
Desiderata. Here's a list of things that are important to me, a sort of list of values. I value loyalty and commitment, personal attachments that are long-standing and enduring. I have little concern for fashion, pop culture, or celebrities. I admire the nobility of rocks and have an affection for trees. I find my place in nature and try to live within its limitations. I'd rather be a forest than a parking lot, yet I'd rather live my life in a neighborhood than in the woods. I willingly accept obligations beyond my choosing, wanting to honor my ancestors, but not worship them. I have a fondness for the past, but do not long for it. I'd rather repair the old than demolish it for the new. Wealth, power, and privilege have little appeal to me. I'm skeptical of progress, wary of experts, but love ideas and admire intelligence. I often prefer the company of children to that of adults. I hope to do no harm, and want to do some good. I'd rather have things close than far, little rather than big. I could be happy either as a swallow or as a lamb. I like beautiful things, but plain things, vibrant things, not dull. I abhor uniforms and am frightened by rallies. I'm critical of things as they are, but know that not all changes for the better.
A single person. Riding the subway in Munich, I was surprised to find a stop at Dachau. In my mind, concentration camps existed in deep forests, far from urban centers. But there it was, accessible by the metro, whizzing by weary commuters. Despite its nearness to the city, my host said that during the Nazi period, he knew virtually nothing about the camp, except that to ask about it would bring government forces down upon the inquirer. So ignorance prevailed. And what ignorance the camp, now a museum, reveals. The Nazis kept meticulous records at this camp, unlike most others which they wanted to consign to invisibility forever. Here they noted their procedures and photographed their experiments, so that these advancements in murder techniques could be duplicated at more extensive and horrible places. At this, the first concentration camp, they tried out the shower rooms, executioners' ropes, and ovens. Yet what remains in my mind more vividly than anything else is the photograph not of children and mothers, but of a political prisoner wearing a pilot's helmet. This man, not a gypsy or Jew, but a socialist, served as an experimental subject to determine the amount of pressure the skull can withstand. The picture shows him clutching his head just moments before his death. I often think about that subway, that camp, and that picture. I wonder what it is today that I refuse to look at as I go about my business. And I wonder how much I am like my German host. What is it that I won't see? What is it that I refuse to ask?
And now if Maureen and James could come up.
Simple things. Nothing is shrill. The nearest telephone rings 2 valleys away. The golden dog cools in the shade. We listen to our latest letter, bathe in a metal bowl, savor one chocolate bar. My tea is amber. Come sit with me in the dim light. Look, our children smile in their sleep.
Postscript. All that is haze now, and beyond my touch, like the clouds below, rocky walks, harvest maids, smiles with milky teeth, and a cobra. Your 3 stone fire burns, and from the rafters, calabash gourds. You are velvet, as strong as steel, sewn in my dreamy words.
The next piece that we're going to hear is sung by the Bergen Chorus. Now, because of everything that went on last night, the tape player is not working properly, so we had to make some last-minute adjustments. So I'd ask that you perk up, because I don't think it's going to be as loud as we would like it to be. So.
Understand, but don't make excuses for those elements which block further growth.
We are all born with a voice that is ours alone. The most precious thing we can do for each other is to develop the authentic differences between us.
Salvation comes as each becomes a hero in her own right. Not a superhero in human proportions, rather a little hero of human dimensions. Little heroes whose names are forgotten in history. Little heroes who stuff envelopes, talk to neighbors, touch another, share a thought. The material of little heroes lies within each of us, and it is the little heroes who in the long run make the difference. Never make less of yourself than you are. Be confident and forceful. Utilize your talents and abilities. Don't play coy. A woman can drive a hammer as well as any man. A man can feel as deeply as any woman. Thank you. And now Marion Cohen, Muriel Schwartzman, and Elsa Jaskin will read from Saying My Name Out Loud.
Such skills I have, clipping a heavy ram's hose, pruning the thin limbs of coffee trees. I can ride a subway in 4 cities, speak a language and a half, and with a nudge, tease scholarly words out of hiding. My tongue can find its way in your darkness, sweetened with cocoa and curacao, softened by a decade in tandem, chastened by our 2 children, sleeping their separate lives.
This is from Separate Vacations. When you were gone, and it was the coldest April day, the cat slept beside me, purring her innocent motor. She put her paw on my chest, and I thought of you, having a dream. Were you missed? You wanted to know. I heard the clock turn the minutes and saw the sunrise behind the budding maple. I fed the cat, talking a little to myself.
Saying my name out loud. It turns over like sod in spring, and hesitantly from my darkened center rises Arthur. From afar and softly, Arthur. Saying it aloud, it quavers and strengthens and stands before me. Arthur. Rolling like Stonehenge thunder. Arthur. Arthur. Now my own, this very name, as rich as honeymead, as mine as my finger or foot. Arthur. Arthur.
Linda Napoli.
We have no promise of eternal reward, or even the promise of happiness in this one world we know. All that is before us is the possibility of living a life full of existence, both in darkness and in light. Because we touch, we must admit that something else exists, because we are touched in return. This is the beginning of all obligation to ourselves to become what we can, to others that they might do the same. With others we share our strengths, and from them gain our own. To grow into our fullness is our natural goal. To cultivate that which makes us human, the necessity and ability to feel another's pain.
We'll now have have the second piece from the Bergen Chorus. Now, it says here in the program that Ken Schwartzman will be reading from Salted with Fire, but I think that's probably an understatement. I'll let you decide for yourself. Ken, do we need to move this?
Arthur's first novel. A story. I am coming, granddaughter. We are taken one by one. One by one we go. Everyone knows the bitterness of tears. Even Morab Kankwamboga would Wazungu. This is what happened. A story. I am coming. Long ago, before there were Wazungu and Kisi, Morakwamboka lived on the highest hill. From there she could see the great Lake Nyanza. Far off, she could watch clouds of dust rise from the hoofs of wildebeest, from the hoofs of elephant and zebra. From there, she could see farther than anyone else. As a little girl, she sat on the side of the steep hill, gazing into the distance, seeing what others could not see. And when she married, she lived with her husband at the top of an even higher hill. She raised all her children there, where it is always cold. As where everyone wore wool blankets even during the day. And they could see clouds in front of their mouths when they breathed. That was long ago in Kisi. Right here in our location. Here where there are the bravest Kisi. Mora Kwamboka learned the secrets of herbs and barks. She knew all the medicines that cured. She wore a round cap festooned with beads of many colors. She was brilliant, like a rainbow. From all of Kisi, people came to see her. She was famous everywhere. She could cure ailments, sing songs of wonder, and dance like no one else. She could do all these things. Mora Kamboka, the great woman of Kisi, your ancestor, the one buried where your great-grandfather's house once stood. She was old, but she didn't die of old age. She didn't die because she was cursed, bewitched by a jealous neighbor. She didn't die from poison or the bite of a snake. The Wazungu killed her. It happened this way. She had heard about Sakawa's prophecy from her grandmother, who heard it from her grandmother, back to the beginning of time, back to the beginning of memory. When Sakawa settled in these hills, in our land of sweet bananas, maize, and millet. She knew about the new people who would come, the people like giant babies, the color of newborn, more powerful than our warriors, who would wear mushrooms on their heads and hold sticks that issued fire. She had heard Sakawa's prophecy, and the Wazungu did come. They came wearing hats like iron mushrooms, and from the sticks they held in their hands came things like invisible fire that could burn through the buffalo hides that our warriors wore. The men came. Men, but no women. Only men. The chief of this tribe rode a horse the same color as the men, the color of clouds. He was called Dotcoat. He wanted each husband to pay him for every house a husband built, a house for each of his wives. He said if husbands didn't pay for each house, the men with iron hats and fire sticks would take our men from Kisi, and they would be put into iron houses made of metal, and we couldn't see them for many years. And when they returned, they would be sick and old men. The men couldn't pay in cows or goats. They only wanted what they called shilingi. The husbands asked him, where can we get this thing called shilingi? We have cows and goats, chickens, sheep, grains and ground nuts. But we don't have this thing you want from us. And the elders said, if you want land to farm, there is land on which to grow. We have land enough for everyone. But Northcote said, the chief across the wide water can't use cattle and goats. He can't use greens or ground nuts. The chief wants only shillingi. Shillingi don't die like livestock or spoil like vegetables or fruit. They are forever. The elders were very generous. They said the strangers could farm nearby and our warriors wouldn't raid their land, and they could live peacefully without fear that our warriors would protect them from the Luo, the Kipsigis, and the Maasai. Chief Northcote wanted none of that. Only shillingi. He said our men could get shillingi by working for others of his tribe who lived on the other side of the Great Valley to the east. But no man wanted to go. The elders' offer was fair. The Wazungu should accept their generosity. If they didn't, the Wazungu would wail with sorrow. Chief Northcote warned. He then took two of the elders at the point of a fire stick and carried them away. His warriors came the next day and took our livestock. More warriors came and took women and children and killed them there right in front of their houses. The Wazungu say that Dautenyo's the one, but he wasn't. This is the way it really was, the way it was told to me. Mora Kwamboka was his first wife, and she knew that the head rules the body. Now she knew that what she would have to do, what the head required. She planned for months, preparing the proper song, making sacrifices of white goats, dancing the night round the fire in front of her home, getting instructions from the diviners. She knew everything that a woman needed to know and did everything a woman needed to do. She learned about Chief Northcote. She went to the new stone town and watched